Shane Douglas questions at gmail.com. Submit them there. And that is exactly what this fella did here. Pete C., Detroit, Michigan. Shane, just curious, if you have been approached by AEW, Impact, or anyone else to help them run their business, i.e. booking, writing, road agents, or is that something you would even be interested in? I think someone with your knowledge and experience in the wrestling business would get snatched up in short order. Thank you for the memories. You're a class act, and I enjoy your show very much.
I appreciate it, Pete. It's a great question. No, the answer is no. I think on both counts. I'm the guy that, and I've belabored this point, so I'll just briefly say it, and you can find it in previous episodes. What kept me interested in wrestling and kept me from going crazy or having to go do drugs or get drunk every night was I had immersed myself into the business, and there was a very clearly delineating point. I live 23 miles from the Pittsburgh airport, and driving to the airport, I would get myself into the mindset of this crazy character called the franchise, and then, sort of stay in character, but not like 24 hours a day, but I could access him quickly. My kids asked me recently, 6 months ago, "Hey, Dad, do the franchise voice." We're sitting at the kids' table, cut the, and I couldn't do it. Like, sitting here, I can't really do it because I'm not in that mindset. I could approximate it. I could do like an imitation of me doing the franchise. And so, like, being able to think like that guy and get into that, but immersing myself in the business, that intrigues me. I'm not a guy to sit there and go, okay, let's play a video game for 6 hours, or let's watch TV for 6 hours, or I can read for 6 hours, but it has to be something that interests me. And so, to me, what was interesting was going and talking to the camera guy. Hey, last week you did this shot like from this direction. Why'd you do that? Well, because perspective, and they give, okay, that makes sense. And those things intrigued me. So yeah, I'd spent my career learning those things, wondering why the promoter or the booker would say push this wrestler instead of that wrestler. Why is this match on in this spot and not earlier or later? And that just kept me interested from being bored at work. Once you're dressed and your match is up in 2 or 3 hours, okay, then what? Play a video game, which I don't do. It's I'm one of those old farts that mine is Pong, right? I can knock the Pong back and forth.
Come on, you must have got to at least Centipede or something.
Pac-Man, yeah. Oh, yeah. Walk. But so the answer is no. They nobody has contacted. Obviously, I think I have something to offer in that, because when you succeed in this business, for the people that I look at that have succeeded in this business, they're usually pretty darn good at something. But that all said, based on what I've seen and my commentary on the current product of the business, when kids come to me in the dressing room, and it's almost every weekend, hey, what advice would you give me? And I tell them, and I'm not being a smartass. I mean, this is gospel truth. There's not a single thing I would teach you that would make any sense to you, because the business is not today what it was then. And the NFL, still scoring touchdowns and throwing passes and running balls and making tackles. But the game has transcended or moved on. Better, worse, anybody's there. That's a judgmental call. So for like the things that I would teach, I think are the things that are desperately missing. I think in a previous episode, we talked about, how our Flair being that sage in the dressing room. Clearly he's got that upstairs, and that's what's needed. But when you hear guys saying, and it wasn't like a diss to my generation. When somebody saying we're not taking advice from legends anymore, nothing they can teach us. Well, before we started this episode, James just taught me a little bit about this thing called the internet. This might catch on, by the way. It has a chance to make it, the internet, and these computer thingamajigs. But again, unless you have a willing audience to sit there and say, okay, I know I need to learn. I was keenly aware, as that green kid in the dressing room, I didn't know what I didn't know, but I knew there was a whole lot I didn't know. And, so I had amazing teachers sitting around me and divvying that off to me. I sat under that learning tree. Thank God I had it. I don't think there's a willingness in the kids today to take that. Let's face it, they got some pretty talented people behind the scenes that say AEW. and Tom Pritchard and NWA and Ricky Moore. I mean, there's a lot of really talented people out there that know their stuff. What I have no interest in is going and taking that and attempting to give it, and people going, I don't need to know that, or I don't want to learn that. That's I think people know my personality well enough that I don't take well to that kind of stuff. Not that I expect anybody should bow down because Shane Douglas is here. But
I'm actually going to. I do apologise for interrupting you. Very specifically, Impact that I want to bring up here, because Lance Storm's there, Tommy Dreamer's there, a couple of other of the ECW guys are there as well. So there's clearly more people working backstage, working with the guys more on your level of thinking. So would that appeal to you more?
Possibly, but only if the fit was right. I've reached a stage of my life where I've realized there's a fewer steps ahead than there have been behind. And I in no way mean that like there's any issues or whatever. I hope to be around for I hope 35 years from now, you and I are still doing this and you finally have some gray hair. But it's, I just, I want to take the time that I have and use it for the things that I hadn't been able to do before, that had time to do before. And I still have bucket lists and everything. To sum it up, I would say if there was a place where could plug in, where I could be relevant, where the audience, in this case, the dressing room, was receptive to what we were giving. And I'm not so sure I see that. Maybe I'm wrong. I was in at WrestleCade last year. We did the little shtick, the little spiel with Impact, and playing off the dynamic dudes, and fun to go and make fun of yourself and have and do that stuff. But and I saw a young dressing room there that seemed to be receptive and open. I was there for 30 minutes, 45 minutes. So what I see transpiring on the few times that I drop in and do watch stuff, or when somebody sends me stuff, I see, and I asked Arn this question: how is it possible that I see Arn Anderson, who's for anybody in this business knows like what a uniquely special talent he is and was, and a great teacher. I know because I learned from him. A lot of us learned from him. How is it that I don't see any Arn Andersonisms in the AEW talent? And that to me is like a telltale sign. I told you before off camera, I think with one of my other friends in AEW, just like giving me a retort that I didn't expect from them. It's and since talked to other friends that are working there, and they don't sound like they're having a lot of fun. So for me, this is a very hard business to pick up. It's a hard thing to learn. Impossible in many ways to some people. You see some people come into the business and never really quite grasp it. I was one of those guys that really took it probably too seriously at times. I wanted to learn. It was just like, it's what kept my brain engaged. And so I took the time to learn all those different facets and aspects, not just from a wrestler's point of view, from a booker's point of view, from the cameraman's point of view, from the televised, the way it's televised, the way the card is set up, why this wrestler over that wrestler. That was what kept my brain engaged. And I just don't see very many outlets where that's even appreciated today. And I don't have the time to waste in my life to sit there and say, okay, you should go left. And I'll explain to you why you should go left. And then they go right and come back, go, got it. No, it's Bill Watts today would probably not succeed with his style of management. He was, it's renowned. You've heard every wrestler talk about this. But I think it's also relative to say that as much as I couldn't stand that style at the time as that young kid that didn't know anything, you've probably heard me more times than not mention Bill and say something like, I learned this from Bill Watts, or Bill Watts taught me that. It wasn't a fun ride, but boy, it was a learned ride. And, I don't think it's happenstance. I just don't see the place where that would apply today.